Hola a todos amigos del mundo deportivo, Shayna Baszler y está con nosotros, está justo antes del pay-per-view, NXT, no, perdón, de WWE Evolution. Hello, good morning, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice not having to cut weight the night before a fight, so it's good.
Tell us a little bit more about the evolution of your character since you got to WWE.
Well, I think the first taste that fans saw of me was in the Mae Young Classic, and I think after the Mae Young Classic final, that was a very important moment. So I was, my character was happy to have lost and tuck my tail and go to the back, and now I don't care to do that much anymore, and I'm about to prove to everyone, the rest of the locker room and the fans as well, that I'm the best. I don't care what you think. I'll make you say it. You know, that's kind of my characters have become more ruthless in that sense, I guess.
Tell us a little bit more about the learning process from MMA to wrestling business. Did you train before, or was something that you catch up here?
Well, so for people that don't know my MMA history, I trained with Josh Barnett and Billy Robinson, who are fighters, but also very heavily involved in pro wrestling. Obviously, Billy, a very famous pro wrestler in his day. And I think coming up as a catch wrestler in MMA has a real advantage in crossing over to pro wrestling, just simply because it is pro wrestling. It's pins and submissions. That's how we win a pro wrestling match. That's how you win a catch wrestling match. So rather than, and obviously I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well and everything you need for MMA, but rather than just learning the simple like armbar, triangle, normal MMA stuff, I was learning half Boston Crab, neck crank, double wrist lock. You know, I was learning pro wrestling stuff. So I think it's easy it's been an easier transition maybe than even it would be for someone else coming from MMA. And then just on top of that, even while I was fighting in MMA, my coach Josh was always very much grooming me like a pro wrestler. It's always been really important. He's always made it very clear that MMA and pro wrestling are the same. It's just what the focal point of the message is that you want to send out, and each one is different. So he's always been really, really important in MMA to create a brand for myself, a character, a name, say crazy interviews. You know, I walked out in MMA with a guitar and said hilarious things in interviews. So it's always been a thing that I've done, and it's just led me here. You know?
Also, you're a great wrestling fan, because I listened recently to a podcast with Sam Roberts. You were talking about, I don't know how many hours you spend watching wrestling. Is it something that you're still doing that? You're still overnighting with the wrestling?
Yeah, just, you know, not as often as before because I'm on the road a lot and like stuff like that, but just I love watching historic stuff because, you know, throughout history, even the history of the world, the same stories and folklore have been told over and over and over, just differently. And if you look across, that's cross-cultural and just all over the world history. So I feel like it's the same in wrestling. You can tell the same stories differently. So I like, whereas before I would watch wrestling as a fan to be entertained, now I'm watching wrestling for education, to learn. So I'm still doing it just for different reasons.
If you could go back in time, is there anything in your professional career that you would like to change, especially here now that you're in WWE?
You know, a different interview, someone had asked if I wish I had gotten out of MMA sooner to do wrestling, now that I'm finding I love wrestling so much. And wrestling, I feel like now is what I was always meant to do. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I was fighting in MMA, I didn't have that thought. I wasn't fighting MMA to eventually become a wrestler in the WWE. I was fighting MMA to be the best fighter in the world, and I want to learn catch wrestling, and I want to learn these martial arts, and maybe I want to coach one day. But the thing is, I had to fight with that belief. I had to think that was it in order to be what I am in wrestling today. If I would have been fighting for the goal of wrestling, it would have been different, and I would be a different character in wrestling than I am. And so I think as much as there's a side of me that wishes I'd done this all along, I think it couldn't have happened any other way. And then on top of that, I think just the style of wrestling I bring and the character that I am and the character I portray, now is the only time this could happen. You know, it couldn't have happened back with the butterfly belt. You know what I mean? So it had to happen now. So it's just like the perfect storm, the perfect timing. Everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to.
I was always thinking that it would be cool to see Brock Lesnar going into the octagon with the Universal title. Did you ever thought about you as a champion, NXT or main roster champion, going into the octagon again with the title?
I would be lying if I told you it didn't cross my mind. It's a very old school thing, right? They did that back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
And it would be cool. And I think part of it, and it's a crazy thing because there's always exceptions, of course. There's great fans in every sport, but as a whole, MMA fans are very like, MMA's the best and wrestling sucks.
Yeah. Wrestling's fake.
Right. So I feel like I would want to do it just to like defend pro wrestling, you know.
The honor of the wrestling.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's definitely a side of that. You know, I spent some time in Japan. I lived over there and trained pro wrestling and toured over there. And I took a fight, an MMA fight, when I was over there, up 2 weight classes from normal because I didn't want to cut weight. But I did it for kind of similar reasons. I went into that fight, promoted, you know, wrote on the paper, promoted myself as a pro wrestler. I had pro wrestlers that I had met on tour that came to the show, and I was representing pro wrestling, and I did my same pro wrestling entrance for this MMA fight. And so I know that is a thing I would, to defend pro wrestling.
Yeah. So let's talk about your opponent, Katie Sane. She's a champion, but you are long-time rivals, let's say, because everything started last year during the first edition of the Mae Young Classic. How different do you think is going to be this match tomorrow to the match you had 1 year ago?
Well, I went back to what I've always done going into this match, which is I trained the way I trained for any fight. I went back to my old team. I got my old, you know, the horsewomen. I got my old teammates training. They know me. I'm just a lot more focused. I think I'm not wowed as much by the lights and the stage anymore like I was. Especially the Mae Young Classic final was like, walk out and you're like, wow, you know. So there's, of course it's going to be a wow moment, just the history of the pay-per-view, or I mean the importance of the pay-per-view and whatnot. But you know, it's not going to be unexpected now. So I think we'll see how it goes.
Surprises. You talk about your bodies for horsewomen, for MMA, and this question, I don't know how many times they ask you about the four women, probably for SummerSlam, we don't know. Is it something that you have in mind that you would like to do this soon, or maybe you would like to wait a little bit more?
Well, you know, I mean, those four can't even decide if they're friends from day to day. We've been friends since the beginning of meeting each other. We've never rivaled. We've never argued over who's the best. We've always had each other's back. Sink or swim, you know. So if they want to try to get their poop in a group and try to stay friends long enough to try to wrestle us that are actual friends, then yeah, they can go ahead and try to do that. That's fine.
Can we say that Ronda Rousey is your leader, or there's no leaders in these four women, four horsewomen?
I think the four of us, this is going to sound really cliche, but I think the four of us are leaders over different portions. Ronda's definitely the face. Ronda's the one that everyone recognizes. She's the most known. But I think as far as directing traffic, I'm going to claim that spot. You know, I'm the go here, go there, here's how we're going to do it, this is the way we should do it type of person. Yeah, so I think all of us have our own role in the group as far as that goes. But if you were Rhonda's the face, obviously, that everyone knows, and she's gonna be the one that we have to kind of, she's the one on the billboard of us,
How do you do when you put your opponent's hand like that, and you don't really break it? Because it's scary for me. I don't want to watch it. So how do you practice that?
My coach Josh has a saying, and it's the body's a submission waiting to happen. I've been studying how to twist people's limbs for 17 years.
Where do you study that? There's no books. No, yeah.
I know how to twist people's limbs. That's it.
Okay, I won't ask. I don't want to. So, what's the most important thing when you are in WWE? But now you're in NXT. You are not touring all the time. You're in full sail, but you're not going to Europe, for example. How busy is your schedule? Is like the main roster one, or?
We're not on the road as much as the main roster. We go on road loops once or twice a month. Every weekend we are doing shows, even if it's just in the Florida area. But yeah, for the most part, if it's just a normal week,
you can sleep at home. Let's say.
Yeah, we sleep at home most nights. Even when we have the Florida shows, it's within 3 hours, so we just drive back. But it is busy in that we have to get time in training at the PC, and we're required to do this sort of stuff. And we still have appearances and things that we go to, rallies and schools and things like that. So it's not like the main roster in that we're not 5 days a week in a hotel, but we're still pretty busy on our own. Yeah.
In terms of booking, do you have the control of your own storylines? You need to talk to the writers or some ideas.
We have, so it's very much a collaborated effort. If the writer came to me and said, "Okay, Shayna, then you're gonna get on stage and dance and stand on your head," I very much can go, definitely I would never do that. So we do have freedom within our character, but it's usually a joint effort to try to still tell the story that they kind of want to tell, just within our character's view. So.
Just finally, just one more. What do you think? What does it mean evolution? Not just for WWE, we all know what it means, but for the rest of the business, wrestling business.
Well, I think if you would have asked 2 or 3 years ago where we thought, in 2015 when the Give Divas a Chance thing happened, which was a catalyst for kind of all of this, I don't think anyone would have said, well, I think we're going to be having an all-women's pay-per-view in New York. I don't think that would have been an answer. So I think that just the fact that, A, the fans are so hungry for this, and then on the flip side of that, as performers, we realize how important it is to knock this out of the park. And you look at the card top to bottom, all of us are people that have stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park before. So just the ripple effect is something that we can't even envision. Because like I said, Give Divas a Chance, I don't think they were talking about give the women their own pay-per-view. But here we are, and everybody wants it. So it's going to be interesting to see in 2 to 3 years what happens, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.